One of these days I'll learn how to be a producer, but that day is not today. Welcome to Pirate Radio, everyone. Let's see, where was I going to start? Testing out a little bit of a new setup here, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Let's see. Where was I going to start? Oh, we're still fighting the NFA in court. I say we as in the royal we. I'm not a lawyer. I only play one on TV. So go out, support Firearm Policy Commission. FPC. Go support FPC at Gun Policy on the Twitters, or X if we're wanting to call it that. Gun Owners of America, even the NRA's in on this one. That's pretty cool. Silencer Shop or Central, one of those. I can't remember which. But go challenge them. To that effect, also keep some pressure on your representatives. I don't know how many of you listen to Tucker Carlson or watch Tucker Carlson anymore, but our friend, our ally, Mr. Braxton McCoy, was on Tucker following up his appearance on the Sean Ryan show, in which shows that with enough hounding, support, just, I don't know, ratioing, Twitter hate, you can affect some change. So we got that part kicked out of the big, beautiful bill. So on the Tucker front, which I have made a grave tactical error tonight, which I'm going up against a live Tucker broadcast. Please stay tuned here if you're already here. I wanted to talk about why it is all of a sudden, and maybe it's not all of a sudden, maybe it's always been there, that maybe it's just more pronounced now because media has changed so much. This gatekeeping nonsense bullshit that I keep seeing pop up from those who claim to be on the right. Some folks call it the woke right. I think that's a really stupid and retarded term that was perpetuated, created by a pseudo-intellectual mathematician who is actually one of the dumbest educated people you'll ever come across. He's just more of a well-spoken AOC, although AOC, I don't think AOC has any talents. She's pretty good at social media, but outside of that, I don't know what a talent she has. If you hear thunder in the background, well, that's not me. That's an actual storm. So we also run the risk of this stream ending abruptly because the power goes out. But back to the topic at hand. You see a lot of people turning on Tucker Carlson here recently. I don't quite understand it. If you didn't like Tucker Carlson from the bow tie wearing days, I kind of understand that. If you've been suspect of him, whatever, you know, it is what it is. It's just watching these so-called Trump supporters, folks on the right, all of a sudden are now going against Tucker Carlson for various views that he has not really expressed, but has been accused of expressing, which is always kind of funny too. Call a guy an anti-Semite that's never said as far as I can tell, never said a bad thing about any Jew, or the Jews or Jewish people more broadly, but has questioned some of the motivations behind Israel's government and some of the motivations and potential dealings of their intelligence agency, but also he's been very critical of the Central Intelligence Agency and the FBI and the NSA and all of the American intelligence agencies. And I believe he's also besmirched the good name of the Stasi from back in the day. So I don't know. It's a problem more prominent, prevalent, and it keeps happening because you have someone on a show. I hate this whole topic, this whole word of platforming. Platforming is such a nonsensical, stupid term. And if you're not familiar with what platforming is, it's basically that if I, with my very tiny, small platform here, were to lend a voice to a alt-right person or even an alt-left person, if that's a thing, or a super, hardcore leftist or a socialist or communist or just someone who's been deemed a bad person, that I am then giving them a platform to spew their hate or their speech of repute or whatever we want to call it. This whole idea that you're going to, and okay, so I keep seeing this, and it's usually about Tucker. And I think it's mainly about Tucker because he has by far the largest platform currently in this is completely new media landscape. It's also amazing from a standpoint of you're watching these people who, I'm going to focus a lot on people who claim to be on the right or are on the right in this, because you see this same tactic happens on the left and was happening on the left, and cancel culture and deplatforming and people getting ripped off YouTube and Facebook and Twitter pre-Elon and all of these things. We all remember the cancellations from like 2017 through 2021 and 22. Excuse me. But you have the same people complaining now that were complaining then about, Alex Berenson got kicked off of Twitter because he was questioning the COVID narrative. And turns out Alex Berenson was correct in all of these different things, but they were on Alex Berenson's side at the time, a guy who's not on the right, which is actually fantastic that you're sticking up for someone who politically probably does not align with you, but is saying things based in science or reason or data or whatever, and you're sticking up for that person. That's kind of what's crazy, is that used to be a liberal position, and now it's become a conservative, small c, conservative position. But those same people who claim to be for free speech and not cancel culture, now have the biggest problem with Tucker Carlson because of the people he decides to platform on his show. Alert right now, I forget what time not zip code. What time he was going live with Daryl Cooper, but that's kind of what is prompting most of this, is seeing the crazy outcry and problem with Tucker. And he kind of played it up, and I don't blame him for playing it up, because it's provocative and provocateur, and he is that to an extent. But sorry, getting distracted. But basically, you see these same people saying that you shouldn't be talking to Daryl Cooper because he has some sort of revisionist history that he's spouting and all of these things. And it's like, well, is it revisionist history, or is he just asking some questions and saying, well, maybe this, that, or the other? But really get too deep into Gerald Cooper in his stuff, which it is what it is. Take it for what it's worth. My point more broadly is I see so some of the podcasts of people that I listen to more often than not, and I listen to a lot of different things. I watch a lot of different clips on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, all kinds of stuff. I'm not really into the like. Alex Jones is kind of funny, but he's just a little too much for me. I've never been an Alex Jones guy. Um, I don't know. The last clip I saw, I think it was Ben Shapiro played the clip. It looked like Alex Jones was filming it with his phone in his car, and he said, "I'll physically get sick. I'll physically get sick." It's just not my thing. More power to him. And I was one of those people who defended with my little voice here. I defended Alex Jones when he was getting kicked off everything. When he got kicked off of X, or no, he got kicked off of Twitter. And then when Elon bought it, he put up the poll: should he reinstate Alex Jones? I voted yes, even though I didn't even follow him. I think I do follow him now. I barely ever. I don't know. I don't know. I just whatever. I don't watch the show, but sometimes it's good to see some of the stuff he posts, and some of the things he reposts are interesting and what have you. They're usually reposts of other things. It's not him, but he has a comment on it. But the original post. Anyway, I digress. But short list of podcasts that I listen to all the time. People I listen to quite a bit and have for a while is I listen to the Trigonometry Boys. I like having that kind of British point of view on things, and plus they get folks from the UK on there that they interview, people I've never heard of, people I'm not familiar with. Maybe it's someone I have heard of, but I've never seen a long form interview with them, things like that. I find it fairly interesting. I like the guy with the weird hair better than Konstantin Kisin on the show. I never can remember his name. Oh, well. Sorry, dude. He apparently recently got a haircut. He looks weird with a haircut, but he looks better. Anyway, so I listen to Trigonometry. I do still listen to Ben Shapiro. Yes, I know I'm bad. Fuck me. I listen to Part of the Problem with Dave Smith and sometimes Robbie the Fire Bernstein. Yes, I know. I'm a bad person because I listen to Dave Smith. How dare I? I also listen to Tucker Carlson. Pretty obvious at this point, especially if you've paid attention to me at all. Joe Rogan, longtime Adam Carolla listener, back to the Loveline days, Loveline radio show days. Michael Malice, listen to his show pretty much every week. Try to consume his trolley tweets, all of those things. And then also PragerU and Dennis Prager when he was able. I was a big Dennis Prager fan back in the day, back in the AM radio days. And let's see, what else? So those are some of I try to have a little broad view of people that I listen to, people who get interviewed. Try to listen to anything I can that is different than what I believe, and maybe challenges what I believed in the past or currently, or just somebody else's side of something. It's really funny because the Trigonometry guys, their latest episode they released is just the two of them talking about their stance on Israel and what they really think, among other things, but Israel is the main topic. And they talk about how they really didn't have much of a view or opinion on Israel prior to October the 7th and some of the kind of blowback and basically all of the stuff that happened after October 7th that wasn't in Israel or Gaza, as far as protests that were anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas, or in their reaction to that. So that was kind of their episode. And kind of recounting some of the people that they had on it after the fact to try to get multiple viewpoints from multiple different people and just kind of hear people out who weren't crazy nutters, basically. And I listened to a lot of them. I don't remember a whole lot of them as far as like deep, groundbreaking kind of things. It really, the whole Israel, Hamas, Gaza saga gets really just mired in where do you want to start history from? It goes fucking nowhere. It literally is having a religious debate, like literally and figuratively having a religious debate. It goes nowhere. People entrench on each side. You get nowhere. All you do is create like enemies in the whole thing. I've realized that long ago about the Israel, Gaza, Hamas, Palestinian situation, whether you're talking two-state solution, Abraham Accords, whatever. I don't live there, not gonna live there. Anyway, but what's interesting about it is those boys had pro-Israel views, pro-Palestinian views, or guests that had those views on there. And they gave them the fair shake, the fair shot, asked them fair questions, follow-up questions, were harsh when they needed to be harsh. I thought they were fair interviews. I thought they made a whole lot of sense to do that. These are the same boys now who have a problem with the Dave Smiths of the world, with the Daryl Coopers of the world, with the Tucker Carlsons of the world. They sided when Joe Rogan had Douglas Murray and Dave Smith on. They were firmly on the Douglas Murray side. And kind of another thing that's spawning my episode tonight is in their latest episode, they talked about how this is one of the things that is really I see this all the time. It's easy to fall into the trap. It's along the lines of a false premise argument, which the left likes to engage in all the time, of a false premise. You see that with kind of the trans stuff of they want you to accept a premise that's already false, and that's where they're going to start the argument from. So there's no way for you to win that. Once it's the red pill of the Matrix, and once you see it, once you take the pill, you can't unsee it, kind of thing. The whole false premise argument. But what the right likes to do, instead of a false premise argument, and I do have a piece of paper here, I'm not just nuts that I'm looking at. What the right likes to do is they like to argue from conclusion. They will make a case from conclusion, which is exactly what the Trigonometry boys did on their latest episode. They start off talking about Israel, Iran, and they specifically mention Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson as the guys who flew off the handle and went nuts and said, it's World War III and we're all going to die and blah, 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 blah. And they were kind of tongue in cheek going, oh, how'd that work out? Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, well, when you know how it worked out, when your argument is based on what you know now, not what you knew then yeah, you can dunk on them, or whatever stupid move they call it in soccer over there. You could fall down on them or something. I don't know. Slide tackle them. But you had no way of knowing that. And that was the main point of all of the critics of the bombings on Iran was when bullets start flying and bombs start dropping, you don't know where it's going to go. You can't control what the reaction of the Iranian regime is going to be. You can't control what the reaction of those people are going to be. Once the bullets and bombs start flying, it's not in your hands anymore. And you have to hope for restraint and for diplomacy to play out, even though, that kind of wasn't really, they said it was happening, but it wasn't really happening. Still a little debate there on what our president, our regime knew versus what Israel was telling them, vice versa. Look, I'm not going to fault a country for a surprise attack, sneak attack, call it whatever you want. That's war. That's what you want to do. The element of surprise on your side, take it. That, hey, whatever. Maybe Israel didn't think that the United States could keep a secret. Maybe, whatever it is. I am not critical of that at all. If you're going to take a shot, take your shot. But you see this on the right where you'll argue from conclusion. I know X, so therefore Y was wrong. Aren't I so goddamn smart? No, you're not smart, because you guys didn't know anything when Israel started dropping bombs. The only thing you really knew was that Iran would have a response. You didn't know how bad it would be, how precise it would be, how vicious it would be. You didn't know these things. You didn't know when we flew B-2s over and dropped the bunker busters or whatever all in the same hole. Good on you, Pete Hegseth. You're known for plowing the same hole over and over. You don't know what the Iranian regime's response is going. You still don't know what the Iranian regime's response is, because these guys are celebrating this big victory, this big W over Iran. But if you're Iran, you're getting a bomb. That's where you have to go. So you're cashing your check today. You're counting the chickens. And the problem you have is you don't know actually what you bombed, what was inside, and you don't know if they're 1 week away from having a bomb at this point. You don't know that. So you can claim this as some big victory, and it is a slight victory in that World War III didn't start. This didn't escalate. This was over in 14 days, I think is what Trump named it, the 14-day war. But you didn't know that was going to happen, and you don't know the future either. If you knew the future, guys at Trigonometry, then you would have said this 14 at the beginning of it. You would have said this. You would have been like, it's no big deal. I know how this ends. Don't worry about it. And even by all assessments, even if we did get all of the nuclear material, there's still, by all the expert assessments, the same ones who told you they had a bomb or were getting a bomb or were trying to get a bomb, you know, the people that lied to you yet again, but you all believed, even by those same expert analyses, they're only a year away at this point, even with what we just did. So you didn't avert anything. You just pushed it off. That's all you did. So that's another thing to look out when you hear these guys, no matter who it is, even if it's Tucker, even if it's Dave Smith, even if it's Michael Malice, Adam Kroll, whoever it is, when they start talking and speaking from conclusion as if they're some smart ass expert, that they know something, that they're educated on something, that's the problem. That's an issue. That's where, that's why they use the term revisionist history. Daryl Cooper was not doing revisionist history. All he was doing was a basically a thought exercise, which, by the way, if you go back and actually watch it, which I'm sure the ones who hate Daryl Cooper have never actually watched his interaction with Tucker. By the way, those of you who have not watched that interaction with Tucker, where he talks about Churchill and how he's pushing the buttons of Jocko, you're the same people who were perpetuating. It's the same concept of the people who were perpetuating the fine people hoax for so long from Charlottesville. You're the same. You're just on a different side in your head, but you're doing the same thing. You're being led down the same path. You have the same collar on. You have the same bit in your mouth with a leash. You're just being led by a different master. That's all it really is. So go back and actually listen to the episode. I listened to the episode. I didn't even know who the hell Daryl Cooper was. I don't think I knew who he was at that point. But go back and actually listen to it. Hear what he has to say. Rewind the goddamn thing if you have to. I did it. I think I went back and listened to it again because I had heard it on, you know, Rogan had talked about it. I think Dave Smith on Part of the Problem had played the audio. And I went back and was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to it on my own. And not that I don't trust those guys, but context matters here. Context matters a lot in these things. And I get it that like Ben Shapiro will play these clips and other people will play clips. You're on a 1 hour show. You have to clip things down. I get it. That doesn't mean you can't go watch it or listen to it yourself. It bothers the shit out of me to see this happen and people just fall for it constantly. So the gatekeeping that happens is just that. Someone who has a platform or someone who is a pundit, a talking head, someone that is famous just goes, that guy's an idiot. Don't listen to him. Can you believe he said X, Y, or Z? And then all of the SEALs that follow him just like, I won't listen to him. Thanks, boss. I'll just repeat what you say. It'd be like if you got all of your foreign policy from Rush Limbaugh. Good luck in Iraq. I mean, it's crazy to me to do that. You should do this also with your social media follows, the people you follow. Follow people you don't agree with. Now, don't follow people that are just fucking insane, but follow people you don't agree with. Follow people you've had arguments with. There's plenty of people that I have now on my Twitter feed that are people I got into arguments with, back and forth arguments, discussions, whatever you want to call it, where we are on opposing sides. And when you don't resort to just name calling and you can recognize that the person in the comments that you're going back and forth with has an intelligent intelligent mind, is being, intellectually honest, you can go back and forth with those people. The ones that just call you Nazis and all that, so fucking retarded. And it's insulting, not in the way you think it's insulting when you call someone a Nazi on Twitter who's just has a differing opinion than you or wears a Trump hat. I mean, you're degrading. You're as bad as a Holocaust denier at that point when you just call some rando on Twitter a Nazi or wherever because they have a differing view, because we want to enforce immigration law in the United States. But get fucking sidetracked here. I already forgot what I was saying. But pour myself another of the beverage. Follow people you disagree with. See the things that they say. Listen to people that you disagree with. And one of the problems that I really see with this happening, and back in the day, every Friday night, sometimes on Saturdays, we used to have a little something called Liberty Happy Hour on Twitter Spaces. Enjoyed that thoroughly. Someday it will come back. We're all very hopeful, and we're all waiting. Heather, the ball's in your court. We talked about, it was Alex Jones had gotten, no, Alex Jones was already off of Twitter, and it's when Elon put up the poll to bring him back, and it was yes, no, and the poll was going on, and we discussed it in there about should he be brought back to Twitter? To which my response was yes, he most certainly should be brought back to Twitter. But that the discussion got deeper in that, well, if you take the other side, if you try to steal me in the argument of the other side, you can say, well, he says these crazy things. He says things that are out there. He dabbles in conspiracy theories, and he says things that are untrue, and they could be harmful because the wrong people might buy into it, something of that nature. And my response to that is the same response I have to so many of those arguments. When you put the advisory, the explicit lyrics label on the CD, did it sell less or more? Were kids more intrigued or less intrigued? So when you do that with a guy like Alex Jones, you have the unintended consequence of actually pushing more people towards Alex Jones just to check out, like, whoa, what is this? What is it he's saying that I'm not supposed to listen to? And I think this is exactly where a guy like Nick Fuentes hangs out. I think this is where his crowd has come from. I've never listened to a Nick Fuentes show. I've never seen him interviewed. I've seen the clips. I don't know what to make of the clips other than what's in the clips, which is a bad way to judge somebody. I would assume he's probably a provocateur. He's doing it for some clicks. I don't know exactly what he believes. It's not something I'm into as far as the topic matter or subject matter and topics I've seen him talk about. But I do have to admit that the more people tell me how awful he is, the more I'm kind of the more it pushes me to go, well, wait a minute. The same people that are telling me how horrible Nick Fuentes is and have been saying that for a long time, now are telling me that Tucker Carlson is the root of all evil because he believes that Mossad was in on it with Jeffrey Epstein and that he was so harsh on Ted Cruz that somehow he hates the Jews, even though there's zero evidence to back that up other than clinging to straws, trying to connect dots, trying to shut him up. I'm not going to go listen to Nick Fuentes. But the other one, who's a little less nuts, but also like I've on the subject of following people that you don't normally agree with or you don't agree with. Jake Shields was a guy that I didn't really agree with, but I followed him anyway because I thought, just some different little takes, this, that, or the other. And the second that guy went off the deep end, just super anti-Israel, I was like, dude, this is your whole spiel, and I'm out. And I've unfollowed him. Getting punched in the head for a living does a number on a guy. I know you got to make a living somehow and whatever. And I'm sure there's people like, he could beat your ass. Blah, blah. Yeah, great. Can you punch a bullet? So there's that. But anyway, Jake Shields is a fucking nutter, man. That dude's a retard. But the other guy that has gained notoriety, who's no one should have known his name, he should not be a name that anyone knows, is Andrew Tate. No one should know who Andrew Tate is unless you're like a hardcore kickboxing fan. You should not know the name Andrew Tate. That guy's an idiot. He might be a fucking human trafficker. We'll see what happens in the court case, I guess. I don't know what to make of that. But Andrew Tate should not have he should not be that popular. He should not be a name in this internet world, in this kind of influencer world, whatever the hell we're calling it. I should be more popular than Andrew Tate. That guy's retarded. But he has this platform and he has all of these followers and he has all of this internet clout or whatever you want to call it because everyone just told you don't listen to him. But then you saw the clips where you hear some of the things he says, and I can understand where a lot of people, especially, youngish males, 20-ish-year-old males are like, well, wait a minute. Hey, that guy, that wasn't wrong. And I've heard him say stuff where it's like, he kind of has a point there. I mean, sometimes he does have a point. And now he has this big following because everyone was like, no, that guy just needs to be silenced, kick him off all of the social media, do all the things. And then people were like, well, so you dive down the rabbit hole. People go try to find out who this guy is. They see the clips. You can't kill it. This is not 1985 and you fire Tom Brokaw. I don't even know if Tom Brokaw was the guy in 1985, but you fire the local, the nightly news guy, and he just goes somewhere and waits to die, I guess. I don't know. But you fire those guys and that's it. What are they going to do? They don't have a nighttime job anymore. They're just, it's over. Then CNN comes along and gives some of these people a platform. But like The guy who did the nightly news, the Walter Cronkites of the world, the super liberal asshole from Massachusetts that people still think fondly of because you couldn't know the truth unless you were actually there about so many of the stories he told. If he gets fired, it's over. Like, you just never hear from him again. The second he retires, it's over. You never hear from him again. Much like Stephen Colbert, apparently. This was breaking news that I was excited to see. Let's see if I can share the post here. Producing. Share the screen. Do that. But Stephen Colbert has been canceled. Yay! So, Stephen Colbert is going away. Is he going to pop? Idea. He has a chance because the internet exists. So it's possible. So much of it really bothers me in that I hate the term woke right. I can't remember if I've said that yet. But I hate the term woke right because it really doesn't, it's bastardizing what the woke left really was. They still exist, by the way. But they have this, I think I mentioned it last week in the Epstein episode, the Ben Shapiro's of the world, the Dave Rubins of the world, which I don't listen to Dave Rubin anymore since he blocked me on Twitter, because I think all I said was he posted a meme that was like a car driving and something about conservatism, and I quoted the Michael Malice line of conservatism is just liberalism going the speed limit, or leftism going the speed limit. So he blocked me for that. So that's pretty cool though. But fuck that guy. But those guys have a problem, and they absolutely did exactly what I said that they would do with the whole Epstein thing. And it's not because they're super pro-Trump, or I should say, I don't know if Dave Rubin did it. I predicted he would do it, but I heard Ben Shapiro do it. In that Ben Shapiro's defense of the Epstein thing was the DOJ has evidence that he doesn't have, we don't have. They said X, Y, and Z. That's the way it is until we have evidence, blah, 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 which is not an unfair point or position to take. It's not a crazy position to take. The problem with it is that he kind of needs that because he's been so quick to call someone anti-Semitic because you might question the IDF's handling of the war in Gaza and calling people anti-Semitic and hinting that people are anti-Semitic, like Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson, because they're not just the IDF all the way, whatever they do, no matter what. You can support the IDF in Israel and their defense of their territory and their country, but you don't have to support some of the stuff you hear coming out of Gaza and aid workers and things like that. That doesn't make you an anti-Semite. So Shapiro had the problem that he needed that kind of as a win on his court, because if it does come out that Mossad is somehow connected to Epstein, that's a problem, because now everyone who he called anti-Semitic would be kind of right. And it would be, it would have been a catastrophic nightmare. Let's just put it that way for him. It's funny too, the same folks that will, claim Daryl Cooper is peddling revisionist history. Only want to talk about the Middle East from about 1948 on, and that's fine. Plenty of people have been displaced from their homes, either by war or by decree. You don't have to like it. It's just how human nature works. It's how the world works. You can have a real problem with, like, here, I'm sitting literally in the Cherokee Nation. Um, they don't really have any power. They do technically have a government. It's not really a sovereign nation. It's a nation by treaty. But, you know, they are part of the society. They can vote. They have the same money. They can move freely within Oklahoma and the greater United States. It's not like in Gaza where there's a wall and they're just there. Now, obviously, if they were to launch an attack and just start slaughtering white people, there would be a response, a big response. But it is what it is. That's human conquest. That's just what it is. It's warring tribes. The stronger tribe wins. And that's kind of where you're at with the Israel Gaza Palestinian issue. It is what it is. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is. But the idea that I'm not allowed to talk about it or I'm not allowed to discuss it with either friends or family or a guy named Daryl, that maybe this is the wrong way to do this war because that makes me anti-Semitic or some sort of revisionist history person, that's retarded. And that is where we're at with this gatekeeping nonsense. They use the same wording as platforming that the woke left, the leftists use. They're using the same thing against you, trying to say that because you question something or have a discussion about something that you're somehow the anti or the revisionist or the awful person, which is just wild to me. These are also the same people that will say, well, we like free speech, but we're not free speech absolutists. Fuck that noise. We are free speech absolutists. This country, it always makes me laugh to listen to the trigonometry boys say that as their country, their current country of the United Kingdom of England, just descends into complete and utter chaos. You have people being arrested, thrown in jail for internet posts. You don't have to like the posts, but they have every right to put them up and to say them without the police getting involved. Oh, but you can't have complete and utter, you can't be a free speech absolutist. What if so and so says this or incites violence? What does that mean to incite violence? What does that mean? Incite violence. If I tell someone, hey, you should go punch that guy, and they go, you know what, you're right, I'm going to punch that guy, and they go over there and punch the guy, well, who's guilty of punching the guy? The guy who punched the guy. Is that my fault? Didn't we grow up with this a saying that said, if somebody told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? So to listen to them complain about how their country's going to hell in a handbasket makes me laugh every time. I love it. I love listening to them bemoan the demise of their beloved Great Britain in the UK. You gave up your guns. You have no reset switch. You've been invaded, flooded by migrants from Africa and Syria, and you're just taking it. And then these guys talk about how they're thinking about coming to America. Well, you're not welcome here because you're not a free speech absolutist. You believe in limiting speech. Oh, well, it's just this little bit. Yeah, that little bit leads to this big bit. And then all of a sudden your country is completely flooded by African and Middle Eastern migrants of fighting age. Yeah. And then when we decide, hey, what the hell is this? We need these people out of here. You're like, oh, no. You can't be saying that. We're like, well, that's not a bad position to have. Oh, no. Remember all that free speech you wanted to not have, wanted to limit? Well, now it's being used against you, idiot. So these are the intellectuals that want to tell you that you're not allowed to listen to Tucker Carlson because he has Daryl Cooper on, or he has Dave Smith on, or he has Jeffrey Sachs on. You know what? All of those guys might be liars. They might be full of shit. They might be halfway full of shit. Who knows? 3/4, 1/8, I don't know, 3/16. But you know what? Ted Cruz is full of shit too. To listen to Ted Cruz talk about the reason he ran for Senate was to be the friend of Israel. I know kind of, but like Texas is here, and then like Israel is like way over there. The people of Texas should vote Ted Cruz out. That's ridiculous and insulting for him to say that. I still can't believe he said it. I had to listen to that again. I still can't believe he said it. I don't think Tucker could believe that he said it. And then these same people go and defend Ted Cruz, well, saying, well, yeah, he's a friend of Israel and Israel has a right to exist and blah, blah, blah. By the way, no country has a right to exist. You only have what you have that you're willing to fight and die for. You can't go get invaded by a country. Oh, I have the right to exist. No, you don't. You don't have the right to exist. You have the right to defend yourself, but you don't have the right to exist. If every country has the right to exist, what about Iran? What about Iraq? When did that right to exist start? 1948? I don't know. If every country has a right to exist, shouldn't Ukraine be part of Russia? Which part of the country? All of it? Half of it? Some of it? Just the portions you like? It's funny how all of a sudden you hear someone talk who tells you can't listen to X, Y, or Z. And then all of a sudden everything that they believe is 100% correct. Weird. But then it doesn't apply across the board. Isn't that interesting? Huh. I'll be damned. It's almost like you're full of shit. That you're just saying things to say things. It's almost like you're the watered down milquetoast version of Nick Fuentes, where you just say things that a certain population wants to hear, and they respond by giving you clicks and views and all of the things. It's just that your speech and the things you say go along with some sort of mainstream narrative. That's weird. But then you'll talk about how Dave Smith says things just for the clicks. I don't think you've got that one right there, pal chief. To say things just for the clicks, what does that even mean? Does that just mean you have some sort of success? I don't know what that means. You only said that. He only says those things for the clicks. They only say those things so people will give him clicks. Do you remember hearing that a couple of years ago? And I'm sure there are people that only do things for the clicks. Cool. Great. But they don't hang around for years. And then also when they're pushed on whatever they supposedly believe, it falls apart pretty damn quick. You can not agree with Dave Smith. That's fine. I don't give a shit. But when you listen to him talk, which some of you probably haven't, you've just said, oh, no, he's an anti-Semite because, I don't know, Ben Shapiro told me so, or Dave Rubin or whomever. Funny how Ben Shapiro won't debate Dave Smith, but whatever. You should probably at least hear what he has to say. You don't have to agree with it. It's fine. Plenty of people have read Mein Kampf who didn't start goose stepping through Berlin or their local municipality. Plenty of people. Should we ban Mein Kampf? I've never read Mein Kampf. I have no desire to have that shit in my house. But that doesn't mean you should ban it. Should you ban the Quran? Nope. Should you ban the Bible? No. Should you ban the Satanic Bible? No. The more that you try to gatekeep these things, and it's so great now because anyone can say anything anytime that they want, for good and bad. But you can't gatekeep them anymore. You can't tell them, Tucker Carlson gets fired from his TV show where he's number one. He's bigger now. It's unreal. It's unbelievable how big his show is. That's probably why I don't have as many viewers tonight, because so many bastards are over there watching his live stream. I don't blame you. But I'm not even sure where the hell streaming. It's probably on YouTube, right? Don't go and look, assholes. But it is fantastic that you can just say whatever, pretty much. Yeah, it's on 42,000 people watching live with Daryl Cooper. Eat shit. Take that. That's hilarious to me. So you're going to tell me that 42,000 people by Semites or all are bought into revisionist history? It was so telling too. If you watch the debate with on Rogan with Douglas Murray and Dave Smith, where they just straight up asked Douglas Murray, like, well, have you ever, like, did you listen to any of Daryl Cooper's podcasts? He's like, absolutely not. Like, no. Well, why not? Like, you just what? Heard the clips, the clippity clips, and just said, oh no, that F that guy. I get it. You guys are so obsessed with Winston Churchill. I get it. Like, I totally get it. He was kind of a badass. Drinking, smoking, gun shooting. There's a very cool picture of him with a Thompson, like on the beach, if I remember right. Fucking badass picture. Let's not talk about Gallipoli, and let's not talk about the Boer Wars. Second Boer War, I think. May or may not have invented concentration camps. Look, we're all flawed, man. I get it. We're all flawed. The founders had slaves. We're all flawed. Martin Luther King used to fart in a car, keep the windows up, turn the heater on, from what I understand. I mean, we can't all be perfect. But you don't have to start a concentration camp in a Boer War. The Japanese American internment camps. Not a good look. Was it necessary? Maybe. Hell, I don't know. Not a good look. And I'm sure those people didn't enjoy it. But outside of like George Takei, I don't even hear him talk about it. Head down, move on. Go be a badass. Move on through life, man. And the Asians are kicking ass in this country. Like, literally, so much so they had to get kicked out of universities. My God. I mean, they're kicking ass. So it's you get more of what you don't want when you have these arbitrary, random, stupid rules. So, you're not allowed to talk about outside the mainstream of World War II. You're not allowed to question the IDF's handling of the war in Gaza. You're not allowed to question 9/11, or at least you weren't for a long time in polite society. And the things you end up getting are the things you end up getting more of the things you don't want. So we have this phenomenon happening right now in New York City. You have this moron named Zoran Mamdani. By all accounts, is I think he claims to be a democratic socialist. Just call yourself a communist, dude. Quit beating around the bush. Quit being a vagine about it. Do we really think that the people of New York want communism or any form of socialism? Seizing the means of production is a funny thing when you're in New York City and there are no means of production. Like, you're going to seize the bodegas or something. I don't think you can seize the bank offices. They probably just move. You can do that job remote. Real money. It's all just in the cloud. So I'm not really sure what his plan is. But he might win. And everyone keeps pointing to the debate that they had in the Democratic primary between Mamdani and the rest of the candidates, in which apparently the rest of the candidates kept talking about how they were going to go to Israel when they were first elected. And then they asked him, they said, "Oh, you're not going to go to Israel if you're elected?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to take care of the Jews here in New York City. So that's where I'm mayor of." And then the guy wins the primary. Probably going to win the general. Don't know yet. But the fact that he won the primary and beat institutional money should tell you something. And it's not about Israel. It's not. What it's about is where you are. Politics are local. Why not keep it local? Look at the outpouring, how I started the show talking about Braxton McCoy and the momentum that got behind him and some other folks about not selling off the public land. It got stripped completely out of the bill. They went and they tried 6 or 7 different variations of that part of the big, beautiful bill, and it got completely knocked out. Now it's not over. They're going to try it again, but that's a local thing, or at least it's a United States thing. And it's local to a lot of people who are able to garner a whole bunch of support to get it kicked out of the bill. So that's a big deal. If someone, if you keep it to the local level, to the country, you are going to win so many more elections and you're going to have the people behind you so much more. No one cares about Ukraine. I mean, do I wish they would stop fighting? Yes. Are they going to stop fighting? Probably not. Can we get a ceasefire? Who the hell knows? The only thing that people care about Ukraine, by and large, especially now, is the money we're throwing over there. Most Americans see that as a civil war. Most Americans have no idea why we're even involved. We don't. I have no clue. And now you have the UK like gearing up to increase their budget on their military, to gear up, to get more soldiers, to get more stuff, to get more things, to repel a Russian invasion. Russia's not coming to Europe. Not more broadly. And by the way, all of the tactics you guys have tried, by you guys, I mean like NATO and NATO countries and the regimes, they're not working. Russia's more strong now. And I understand if you're the leader of the UK and the leader of the party, at least, why you want to divert from your actual country that is imploding all around. All around. I get it. And war does that. But I don't even think the UK people are on board with that. I don't know how the hell I got on the topic I'm actually on now, but such is the show. My overall point to this, though, is that you shouldn't listen to things because people tell you not to listen to them. You should listen to whatever the hell you want. If you want to listen to Nick Fuentes and be a moron, good luck to you. If you want to listen to Andrew Tate, cool. If you want to listen to Candace Owens and her deep dive into how Brigitte Macron is really a man, which I kind of do actually recommend listening to those. I mean, good on you. Not every movie has to be like real or based on a true story. Sometimes you just want to hear something nuts or watch some crazy movie, action movie, horror movie, whatever it is. You want to just see something fucking crazy or something just stupid funny. But the gatekeeping has to stop. or actually, you know what? Keep up the gatekeeping. Because that really is the point. Keep gatekeeping, idiots. Keep doing it, because the more you do it, the bigger these people get. The more people tell you, the more people that say Tucker's crazy, he's anti-Semitic, he can't do this, he can't do that, I can't believe he had this gone, the more people that listen. I can't believe that guy can get any bigger of an audience, but he can. Still 42,000 people watching. Let's see how many now. Processing. Still processing. Shit, where'd it go? 43,000 watching. 1,000 of you left, assholes. You better be watching both. Anyway. Man, it's jealousy and envy, where people tell you not to listen to certain people. Like, let's play this out. Okay. No one should listen to, let's say you're a young kid, you've heard the name Nick Fuentes. And someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't listen to Nick Fuentes because he's X, Y, or Z. He's crazy anti-Semite." Okay, fine. So you're like, "I'm going to listen to Nick Fuentes. Well, I got to see what this is all about. All these people say all these things about him." And then you go and listen to it, watch it, whatever, and you see him, and he says something stupid, and you're just like, "I don't know, they were right, I guess." Or maybe you fall into it. And because all those people said all those things, now you're just like, well, he kind of has a point right there. Well, maybe he kind of has a point right there. And then you keep following him. It's how people get into rap, I think. Nobody really likes rap, do you? But it's like everybody just talks how bad it is and tells you how awful it is and you shouldn't listen to it or do this, that, or the other. But it's like, it's become like counterculture, and if you're 15, 16, 19 years old, you don't want to listen to what your parents listen to or watch what your parents watch. You want to do the opposite, right? Like I think teenagers are still rebellious. Some of them in a different way, which are irreversible in old age. Maybe that's a bit too far. But getting into certain things and then believing in certain things, I don't know. I guess just keep telling people to stop listening to certain people, because it's just so crazy to me. I never thought I would hear it from people on the right. The right. About platforming. About how you can't say that. I also never thought that I would see the like religious fervor, the craziness that would come out of people when some dude named Daryl dare question any of the orthodoxy of World War II. And that maybe we should have a conversation about Churchill and how he went about escalating or conducting World War II, while also not mentioning at all that, believe it was Chamberlain who was still in power when they declared war on Germany. And also that those same folks who have such a problem with questioning Churchill and some of his motives now are revising history to say that, well, Chamberlain had no choice but to sign a deal with Hitler. It just makes me laugh. It's all just too much. Okay, well, I run out of steam. It's been over an hour. I think that's all I can say right now for the platforming and gatekeeping nut jobs out there. It is funny too. I'll end with this. The same people, whether it's Ben Shapiro, the Trigonometry Boys, Dave Rubin, A lot of your quote unquote conservatives in America, they're just leftist light a lot of times. And they prove the Michael Malice line of the conservatism is nothing more than leftism going the speed limit, or progressivism going the speed limit, I think is the actual word he used. Because they all prescribe the same prescription for a problem, and it's government. It's crazy to hear conservative. I don't know what conservatives even are at this point, other than just a name. It's just a label, which means nothing. It's like Colonel Sanders, although he was actually like deemed a colonel by the state of Kentucky, I think. But they all prescribe government to fix government created problems. Like the land sell off. Mike Lee, his alleged reason for getting rid of those federal lands was to create more affordable housing. It's like, well, why isn't there affordable housing? Is it because of code restrictions? Because of inflation? Because of money manipulation? Because of bailing out banks in 2008 and 9? Is that why people can't afford a home? Oh, no, but you're going to blame BlackRock. Sure. They bought up a whole bunch of houses. You're right. They're also invested in companies that build houses. So there's that. Just listen to these people, the gatekeepers, the how dare you platform these people. Listen to what they say when they talk about a problem. Listen to what their prescription for that problem is. You might blame the government for a problem, but if your solution to said problem is more government, then you're a fucking idiot. And that's it. Thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a great night.